This is Decision 2023, a debate for Sullivan County Legislature, being brought to you from the Black Library in Monticello. I'm Mike Sickell, News Director for Catskills News. I'd also like to thank our news partner, Mid-Hudson News. This is an opportunity to hear from candidates in the 7 contested races for legislature on a number of platforms, including Catskills News Talk 92.5 and 94.9, as well as MidHudsonNews.com, plus Mid-Hudson News YouTube channel and the Catskills News podcast. Laborers Local 17 is a proud sponsor of Decision 2023. Feel the strength of thousands of diverse tradespeople working with contractors to recruit and train highly skilled, safe, and productive laborers constructing Sullivan County's water, sewer, roadways, and energy infrastructure. Earning great wages, health care, and a pension. Feel the power of a career with Laborers Local 17. Visit liuna17.com to start on your career path today. Both candidates have been provided with the format for Decision 2023, and we are ready to begin what I hope will be a spirited, informative, and civil debate on some of the issues facing local voters. The format consists of 4 segments with 4 questions each. Candidates will have up to 2 minutes to respond, followed by a minute for a rebuttal from the opposing candidate. There are opening and closing statements with each candidate, allotted up to 2 minutes for each. Let's begin with these opening statements, and we did have a coin toss prior to beginning our debate. So by coin toss, our first candidate in this Decision 2023 debate for Legislative District 4 is Maryallison Farley, who is running on the Democratic and Mamakating First lines. Maryallison has lived in Mamakating for over 30 years, working as librarian for Catskill Regional Medical Center Medical Library and as a grants assistant. For 3 years, she worked as a grant writer for Sullivan County. She is a past president of the board of the Bashakill Area Association and on the Mamakating Supervisors Advisory Committee for the Mamakating Education Center. Maryallison Farley, 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity that Mid-Hudson News and Catskill News has provided to us, the candidates, and really for the community as a whole. And thank you, Nick, for participating.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. I have to say that I never planned to run for a political office. As Mike was telling you, I've lived in Mamakating 30 years and worked in Sullivan County 25 years. And Nick, Mike told you what my work has been. So I've grown to love the community, the people who are here, the incredible natural resources. For me, it really centers around the Bashakill. I have been a volunteer actively with the Bashakill Area Association for 30 years. And I came to know the Bashakill in the early 70s as a young college grad when I worked for the DEC. So it's a long time love, and I really want to give back now to my community. That's what's driving me, because I've watched the Sullivan County Legislature the last 4 years, and I've been disturbed by the focus on party politics, bullying, and secretiveness around the processes that the legislature is involved in. So I hope to be elected to serve for Mamakating's District 4 at the legislature, and in that election, if I should win that election, I would like to help bring civility, transparency, working across the aisle, and good value government back to the Sullivan County Legislature. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Nicholas Salomone, who's running on the Republican and the People's First lines. Nicholas Salomone has served in the area of law enforcement in several capacities, being a certified police officer by the Bureau of Municipal Police for 35 years in part-time positions, including as a police officer, crime prevention officer, acting sergeant, and a police administrator. Prior to serving on the Sullivan County Legislature, he has been a Town of Mamakating councilman for over 20 years and also served on the Town Planning Board. Born in the Bronx, his family spent time in Wurtsboro Hills since the mid-60s. And Salomone came to Bloomingburg in 1973. Nicholas Salomone, your opening statement for up to 2 minutes, please.
Okay. First and foremost, I want to thank the moderators. I want to thank my opponent, Maryallison, who I've known for 30 years. And as far as my background goes, and you gave most of it, married, have 2 children, 3 grandchildren. My wife was employed by the New York State Police for 39 years, and my daughter is now working for the State Police. Education, I have a bachelor's degree in business as well as an associate, and I'm a retired Verizon staff manager where I spent 26 years, and I retired under the early retirement, took advantage of it. And in my area of service, I'm very proud. I had 3 meritorious awards on duty, and I'm very proud of my phone company job, my phone company career. I've made it through every snowstorm, whether I had to drive 40 miles, 50 miles, or whatever. And as far as organization, I was former vice president of the Mount Hope Police Benevolent Association. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nick, we will start with you in questioning for up to 2 minutes. Wanted to talk about, since you are so much focused on public service, or public safety, I should say, let's begin with that. It's certainly something that's on the national stage as well as a topic. So here in Sullivan County, do you feel that local law enforcement has the tools it needs to keep the public safe?
You never have enough tools. The more tools you have, the better you are. The more funding we can get, the better we are. And it really takes Albany and Washington to write the checks for the county, because when you buy technological equipment, it's not $1. It could be $30,000, $40,000. I toured different agencies in the area on their technology, and I'm very impressed with the city of Middletown, what they have. And, you know, very happy with the way they operate. In the other area, part of the problem is the bail reform. It's like a revolving door. And New York City Democrats seem to control New York State. They raised the age limit for juvenile. And look what's going on at Target and all these other stores. You create a problem, you're arrested, you should be dealt with. I'm not saying they should throw the key away, but it should be dealt with. No, we never have enough money. The more, the better. But I can give you a little history. When it comes to public safety, we we have record investments in the sheriff department. The sheriff department has a fair contract. Before me, 7 years they went without a contract. Now we have a career path. Instead of a deputy sheriff have to wait 20 years for top pay, 5 years. And it gives you more of a career path. We are funding every resource officer that we can, matching with the school, and providing tools such as the AR-15 to each SRO officer, because you never know the day might come. We're done? Okay.
Very good. And 1 minute rebuttal?
Okay.
Please.
I think in Sullivan County, we are in pretty good shape in terms of public safety with our emergency command center, which has been funded well and built up and offers a lot of training to, especially to volunteer emergency services people in the county. However, part of communities feeling safe is unfortunately dealing with a really acute problem we have in Sullivan County, which is the opioid crisis. So I would say that the legislature has been remiss in not steering more money to the DA's office. They're down 3 ADAs their compensation is not reasonable enough, so we lose people all the time to neighboring counties. So there are ways we can make improvements. Thank you.
Well, and a follow-up question on that now, since you have the next question, Maryallison. Some have suggested that professionals in mental health and substance misuse actually accompany law enforcement as a way of disarming potential crisis situations. Would you support such a program, and how would you go about that through the legislature?
I would definitely support mental health professionals accompanying law enforcement when they're going out on a call that clearly involves a mental health crisis. We've seen all over the country serious problems evolve when we're not handling those citizens who are having the crises when law enforcement is there alone. It's not so much a critique of law enforcement, but to say, let's give them help, let's give our citizens help. And as Nick said on another question, that would be federal and state money that we need to turn to. We have a grants administration department at the county that's excellent, and we just need to secure more monies to have that kind of expanded operation.
Well, and Nicholas Salomone,
Okay.
for your rebuttal, I'll ask you the same question. And having been on the ground, how do you feel that mental health professionals might be able to diffuse crises?
I'm a little skeptical on it for one reason. I know it's the new age, the new era, but when a police officer goes to a scene, he has to concentrate on what he's doing. He has mental health professionals with him. They might interfere, they may not interfere. We do have 911 dispatchers who are very well trained. I believe it's through Dutchess County on how to handle mental crisis. But like we all know, we all make mistakes. And I don't want to see a cop get shot.
Very good. And you get the next question. I'm going to move on to somewhat related and really talking more about affordability and taxes and such. Mm-hmm. Of course, you're well aware Sullivan County, starting with the COVID pandemic, survived through that issue economically with a series of state and federal payments. Certainly helped the balance sheets. Yes. Now, New York State, especially with this year's budget, is reassessing some of those payments, Medicaid being one particular large chunk of money, so to speak. So what do you think we should do to keep our county affordable and tax increases at a minimum?
Well, when we do the budget, we fine-tune it. We go through each item, and we as a legislature decide on how much money should be spent in each area. Does the DA need more help? Possibly, and most likely. Does the county clerk need more help? Possibly. But we as a board constantly sit down with people and analyze what they need and don't need. For example, I'm not saying let's do away with the town courts, but we got DAs running all over the county. Maybe if you had one facility, you wouldn't need as many, or you can concentrate. That doesn't mean I'm for a district court. I just wish there was a way we can make some kind of arrangement. It's a tough call. As far as taxes go, we've been very good. We eliminated the garbage transfer fee of $75 a year. We've held the line on taxes to under the rate of inflation, way under the rate, the 2% cap or zero. And we're doing the best we can as a county. We gave very fair contracts to the employees, and that's all I can say right now. Thank you.
Very good. And Maryallison, your 1 minute rebuttal?
Okay, thank you.
County affordability and
right.
taxes.
Thank you. I have to start off by saying that in order to get more investment in Sullivan County, we need to improve our public image, which is not good throughout the state. getting more investment in Sullivan County will assist us in bringing up the cost of living. And unfortunately, with the current chair of the Sullivan County Legislature, we're not regarded in positive light, and that's being mild. We can't have the kind of behavior, the bullying, the name calling by the person who runs our legislature and expect to get investment coming in our county.
Well, thank you. And Maryallison, you also have the follow-up question, next question here. And I'm going to move on to, of course, another issue is affordable housing. And that's certainly top of mind, certainly an issue within the town of Mamakating as well.
Right.
Your hometown. How do you encourage more residential housing construction here in Sullivan County?
Well, again, we need to have a better public image throughout the state in order to encourage people who invest in affordable housing to come into our county. There are certainly creative things that have been done elsewhere that we could do. One suggestion, you may have heard about it, would be to have a call with developers in the Hudson Valley who have done affordable housing projects, to encourage them to come into our area, to let them know what we have to offer them. So that's certainly part of it. We need to enforce the minimum standards that are required of landlords. And I think another area that could be helpful, again, getting creative is something that's been used elsewhere, and that's using a tax incentive with the accessory development units. So if a person is living in their house, they have an ADU, as they're called, and the person is living, or a family is living in the ADU full-time, then there would be a tax incentive for the homeowner. So this way we're creating more of those options for people working in Sullivan County. That's what we want. We want people to be able to live and work comfortably in this county.
Very good.
Thank you.
Nick,
Talk
hold
about
on.
housing.
Affordable housing. How do you encourage more residential housing and attract
Well, we have a
housing?
couple of plans in mind where the IDA is telling companies, you want to come in, you have to build X amount of housing. But there's a backside to it. Every time you build affordable housing, their assessed valuation isn't as high as a regular homeowner. So now I'm paying less taxes, and I got 4 kids going to school. Everybody else is going to have to pick up the tab. There's no free lunch. Most of the problem is New York State is number 48 in attracting business. So that's number one. Number two, as far as the county goes, unemployment is low. There's more jobs than ever before. We're doing the best we can. Are we the greatest? No, but we're doing the best we can.
Very good. And Maryallison, next question to you as we move on to the next segment. We sort of flip the order here.
Okay.
Along those lines, attracting young people, retaining young people here in the county, what do you feel is the best way to do that, to attract, retain young people, to remain here in Sullivan County as part of the local workforce?
I think there's 2 prongs to the approach, and first would be continued efforts to diversify our economy, and I think that goes along with what Mark Baez says at the Sullivan County Industrial Development Agency. Yes, things are going really well in our tourism industry. We like that. But let's diversify, bring in different businesses with good paying jobs and benefits. That's key. There have to be benefits. Historically, Sullivan County has had lots of service jobs without benefits, and this will not be attractive to our young people when they're considering staying or leaving. So that's the one prong. The other prong is focusing on education of our people, of our youth. So continue getting the funds from New York State that allow SUNY Sullivan to offer free tuition to our students. This is key. Similarly, along that line, let's keep encouraging SUNY Sullivan to add tracks. They added the respiratory therapist track a few years ago. How about the x-ray technician track? All of these jobs are in demand in healthcare. They're good paying. So that's a piece of it. Let's also keep programs going through BOCES, through the Center for Workforce Development. Those programs can be focused on adults who are already here who need good paying jobs. And we've seen success with cooperation between BOCES and the Center for Workforce Development, people getting skills that they need to earn good wages.
Very good. Nicholas Salomone.
Okay.
Again, rebuttal to how would you attract or retain young people in the local workforce?
Well, first of all, anybody who graduates high school and lives in Sullivan County is able to get a 2-year degree at no tuition charge. So we're moving ahead in that area. Then we're setting up programs where the Carpenters Union have journeymen. We have a welding program and a CDL for truck drivers. As far as retaining young people, I think there's too much talk, out there. You got to move out of New York. New York is shot. New York, and we have to try to educate. I think a lot of it has to do with New York State. We don't attract business. We try in Sullivan County, and I think we do a good job. But nationwide and statewide, Albany, there are too many hoops they have to climb over.
Well, along the same line, since you do get the next question,
Okay.
Nick, I wanted to ask, you mentioned some of those local partnerships. Yep. SUNY Sullivan, of course, has been mentioned here. Sullivan BOCES. I mean, could the legislature expand on that and also include organizations such as the Sullivan County Chamber of Commerce and other organizations to offer more opportunities for young people now? I'm focused on young people.
Well, they are doing it. We have a workforce development program. We have a head, Laura Quigley. She does a fantastic job trying to bring jobs together, everybody together. And we're doing what we can up to a point. I think a little of it, society, the young generation, they have to be motivated. They can't live in a basement the rest of their life. We're trying hard. Okay.
And Maryallison, your rebuttal on that, perhaps some other partnerships that might be able to increase young people in the workforce?
Well, I think we've highlighted some of the main partners that Sullivan County wants to work with. Center for Workforce Development, which is within the county itself, reaching out to BOCES. And there have been successful trades training offered for free where people come out with a certificate to work in their field. So continuing that, and as Nick said, Center for Workforce Development has been doing a great job.
Thank you.
Possibly Cornell Cooperative would be able to link in with some of their programming to give more training to young people in our county. And of course, the other, we're forgetting a major player here, and that is the school system, which is so important. If you saw in the recent Democrat, real emphasis on, I'm sorry,
Yes.
Is that done? Okay.
That is time, but that's all right.
I didn't see that.
You get the next question, Maryallison.
Oh,
So,
gosh.
but I do want to move on to, another critical issue here in the county, of course, the opioid and drug addiction issue, substance misuse. Sullivan legislature, as you probably know, recently agreed on distribution of the opioid settlement funds. There were a few heated discussions during that debate on goals, such as focusing on education and the younger population. So what are your feelings, or what would your goals be on funding of substance misuse programs? How do you go about it?
Well, I have to back up as a concerned citizen and say that we've all seen the story that broke in the last few weeks, which said that this Sullivan County Legislature has been sitting on $1 million that came into Sullivan County from New York State from settlements with pharmaceutical companies who produced opioids. They've given no explanation for why that money was being withheld in a county where we certainly, as you've indicated, have a crisis with opioid addiction. We need that money. There are organizations, there are parts of the county government itself that stand ready to use that money. Catholic Charities is a perfect example. They have a great reputation for treatment services in our area and elsewhere. Similarly, our mental health services within the county. We have this really good structure in place within the county and with these cooperating organizations. And again, I just think that as citizens, and I'm one living in Mamakating for many years, it concerns me greatly when money is withheld from treatment for people who are addicted to opioids, and it's being withheld from the whole community because we are affected. Public safety is affected when people are going out and robbing in our community to get money for these opioids. So that would be my summary.
Very good. And Nick Salomone, of
Okay.
course, you were participating in these discussions a few weeks ago, so your rebuttal on.
Well, part of it is we told our county manager to start cracking down on why the money isn't going to where it is. And we're finding that a lot of the requests for proposals weren't filled out right. They had to go back and redo it. I have to give credit to the chief of the Village of Liberty. He did it perfect. They got their money. Most of law enforcement got their money. And we're working on other firms getting it. You know, when you're dealing with state money, county money, you have to go through audit and control. It's not just hand a check over. You look at New York City, a lot of them formed phony corporations where the check went, and they find out later it dissolved, it really didn't go to where it's going, and all that money is gone. So we're doing everything we can, and believe me, we want to do everything we can. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nick, you get the follow-up question. And there's been an increase in mental health crisis in our county. We talked a little bit about that earlier, but some tied in with substance misuse, of course. It's a big issue. Officials have noted a lack of available space in the past. So what can be done to alleviate this problem?
Basically contract with Catholic Charities to try to improve it, and other outreach programs. It's not cheap, but we want to do what we can. My expertise is law enforcement. Crack down, crack down, crack down. The poor victim, yes, we have to take care of them. But, you know, we can't do everything for everybody, but we try.
And Maryallison, your rebuttal on this issue, space for mental health?
Yes, as a person who has worked in healthcare in Sullivan County for 21 years, I still work for Ellenville Regional Hospital on a very part-time basis. I have to say that it's really important that in Sullivan County we keep an acute care hospital open, and what we have is Catskill Regional Medical Center. It just has to be kept open since we're such a huge geographic area. And ideally, we would continue to work or start to work to get a detox unit reestablished at Catskill Regional. As I think most of us know, that unit has been closed for a while. Clearly, there is a need in Sullivan County for that kind of treatment.
Very good. And our next question, Maryallison. You know, one word we hear a lot about is stigma along the lines of substance misuse and even mental health. Do you have ideas on how stigma plays a role in opioid misuse and how we as a community and you as a potential legislator may approach that?
I would suggest that that's a kind of issue that we want to start educating our young people about in the schools. That's really where we need to start in their emphasis on health, healthy living, healthy lifestyles. I think this could be incorporated in that. And we see our schools in Sullivan County doing a really good job with an emphasis, by giving an emphasis to let's live healthily in terms of diet and also exercise. Let's add in, and they're doing things like meditation. So let's add in how we want to stay away from substances that are addictive, and correspondingly, let's not be looking down at people who actually get into trouble with opioids and other substances. So I think schools would be a key avenue. We could also use the wonderful Cornell Cooperative Extension. We could use public health nursing. They all have avenues into the community, and they run different programs where that kind of approach, that kind of information could be added.
And Nick, do you have ideas on how stigma plays a role in what the legislature and the community can do?
Yes, I really believe it comes down to education. The Board of Regents, the Board of Ed in New York State should require a curriculum on finance, on how to do their checking account, and also the drug abuse. When I went to high school, we were shown a movie on 24 hours of a heroin addict and 24 hours of a person trying to get ahead. And when I saw that film, it was frightening. You have the heroin addict, he had to get up every 4 hours, fix himself, go out and get the drugs, rob somebody. Then they show the 24 hours of a person getting an education, being a good kid. I mean, not that a drug addict's the bad kid. You know, unfortunately, he fell into the cracks. But that really stuck in my head, and even today it sticks in my head. I think education is the problem. Not the problem, the solution.
Well, and you get the next question, Nick. Legislators recently met with administrators of Garnet Health.
Yes.
And Garnet Health Catskills.
Yes.
We all know there were some rather major cutbacks that were made over the course of the last few months. Local cardiac care, pediatrics. One listener had claimed that patients being in an ambulance corps, they were told that cardiac patients should be taken directly to Garnet Orange and not brought to the facility, the local facility. So do you feel comfortable with their assurances? You spoke with the president, the CEO of Garnet Health Catskills. Okay. Following that meeting as a legislator, what can be done to make sure that local care stays here in the county at the right level? Okay.
As far as the CEO goes, they seem to give a great presentation on where the future is going and how they want to help. I know in my life experience, you don't always trust what a CEO says. You know, they wind up cutting later on. Hopefully these two gentlemen are right on the right track. We can't make a hospital do anything, but we're encouraging that we need it. I mean, you know, I know we're a rural county, but we need to have some kind of a satellite up here and something down in Middletown. So wherever you are, you're taken care of. If it escalates, then there'll be another area where they have to go to. That's it.
Very good. Well, Maryallison, I know, of course, you were not within the meetings, but your thoughts and your rebuttal on Garnet Health and local medical services.
Right. Well, I haven't been employed by Catskill Regional since 2012, but I would have to say that the record that I've seen, and I think many other people have seen in Sullivan County, both those of us who work there and then other residents, is that the hospital for Sullivan County has not been building up services. Services have been taken away, and I can certainly testify from my time there. We had some excellent departments, which we saw go away. So I would have to agree with Nick. We can't always assume that what the administrators are saying is going to happen. So I think we really have to push for expert care at the hospital in Sullivan County and an expert ER, but backed up by Middletown.
Very good. And moving on to an issue that does touch on your legislative district, both you and Nick and Maryallison, the District 4, and that is some of the high-profile projects. We're kind of switching gears here on the economy and tourism. And a couple of the high-profile projects has been the Route 97 corridor, as well as the County Rail Trail Network. So the question is, do you consider these tourism magnets, and what would you like to see both short-term and long-term to keep these projects going? You're supporting these projects.
I think those are excellent tourism projects, and that historically and currently we really rely on tourism as a major piece of our economy. And I give the Visitors Association a lot of credit for their incredible marketing of Sullivan County as a place to come to recreate. And we have just amazing resources. So I know the county has gotten various grants to plan the O&W trails expansion. I just think that is a worthy project. It brings money in when people come in to hike, bike. They're going to eat at our restaurants. They're going to look around. They may stay. So it is a key piece of our economy, and I think those are dollars well spent for us as taxpayers.
And Nick, I mean, you've been involved within the legislature on promoting these projects, Route 97, the rail trail.
Right.
How do you feel long-term, short-term on that?
Well, basically how I feel is the tourist comes up here, he likes the area, he spends locally, and you know what, maybe I'll move up here. I could work from home remotely, and give you an idea how we did up at the county. In 2019, we gave $906,000 for tourism. 2023, $2.4 million. Roberta Lockwood, she does a fantastic job up there at the visitor center. And we give as much as we reasonably can afford to give. As far as expanding trails, let's see what we got, how much it's going to cost to maintain. I think more people care that their roads are repaved, the streets are plowed in the winter, the public safety, and the public good. But do I believe in tourism? Absolutely.
Well, and I'll follow up on that since the next question is yours, Nick. Yeah. The bed tax funds.
Okay.
They were, as you know, removed. There was a certain percentage that was removed from the SCVA with the new contract, and they've been sitting in a bank account. There's really, at this moment, there's no current plan to spend the money. It's been talked about, but how would you address these funds?
Well, again, talked about. We're going to have a new legislature, whether it's the same people or new people. So at this stage of the game, to do something between now and December 31st is probably minimal. We give the visitor center as much as we reasonably can afford. And again, she's done a great job. The casino has done a good job, although they're skeptical where the future will be. We have the golf course that opened up. Hopefully that'll bring money, big money into the county. We have Bethel Woods, private investment, Alan Gary, fantastic. The minor thing, I gotta tell you something interesting. Route 97, the people who live like in certain areas are complaining too much traffic on a Saturday, too much on a Sunday. You just can't have everything, you know. That's it.
Well, and Maryallison, your feelings on bed tax and perhaps how those allocations should be made?
I certainly think the funds should get out to the various towns, just as I have heard from representatives in the town of Mamakating that they really want to see some of the sales tax divided amongst the towns. This is a key issue. And going back to the trails issue, Mamakating said they really weren't interested in helping with a trails project out of Summitville. I think it goes over to Liberty until the sales tax was fairly divided among towns. So again, let's get these monies out for use. Thank you.
Very good. And we're going to move into our last segment here and kind of flip the order. Nick, I'm going to go back to you. You had mentioned roads and bridges. I mean, it was part of your answer earlier, and I wanted to ask. A lot of local representatives have called for an increase in state funding for road and bridge projects. Are you concerned about the current state of roads and bridges here in Sullivan County?
Yes, I mean, we're doing everything we can pertaining to the town of Mamakating. The county has spent 21 miles of roads in Mamakating that belong to the county. We paid down our debt of $9 million, so now every time we do a road, we pay as you go. I think roads are very important. They make the appearance look nice. I mean, look at Broadway going down. It's beautiful. And hopefully that'll encourage businesses to rebuild. Unfortunately, you have to invest to get, and that's what we're working on.
And Maryallison, conditions of roads and bridges. What are your feelings about countywide?
We certainly hear about the need from DPW in the county to have more funds to repair bridges all around this county. That kind of infrastructure is critical in a rural area for people going out to work every day, going to schools. It's the kind of expenditures we can't ignore as citizens. So we have seen in Mamakating federal funds come in, and I think it's probably true in a lot of the towns. Every year we get the CHIPS funding for our roads, and that makes a tremendous difference. So we just have to continue with those funding sources.
Very good. And the next question is for you, Maryallison. I wanted to talk about the care center at Sunset Lake. And of course, there's a lot to unpack there. There's continued public outcry at some of the legislative meetings. That's probably no secret. Many people are aware of that. My question is it time to dispose of the Infinite Care contract? And would you be in favor of or opposed to a sale of the facility?
I think it's very much the time to end the contract with Infinite Care. This was a facility that the county built and initially maintained and managed. And in those years, ratings of the quality of care offered at the care center in Liberty were excellent for Medicare. Our care center was getting 5-star ratings. This legislature changed the management structure so that it is privately run. And since then, we've mostly seen quality of care drop. The most recent rating by Medicare gave the facility only 1 star. We know that the facility is understaffed. This is not just a Sullivan County problem in healthcare and nursing homes, but when this facility went to private hands, the unions were pushed out. There were 3 different unions in there protecting the workers, giving them the good benefits that unions offer to employees and incentivizing those employees to stay, which is what you really want. You want those good people to stay. So I would definitely advocate for an immediate plan to turn this back to the county. It's a service that the county undertook to make it more convenient for us in this very rural area. So when elderly, other disabled people need skilled nursing, they can be right in our county where we can easily see and visit them.
And Nick, your feelings on the care center? Should we rid ourselves of Infinite Care, sell the facility? What are your thoughts?
I think Infinite Care is doing a fair job, and I say we keep it, study it a little longer. I'll give an example. There was talk about, oh, we did away with the podiatrist, podiatry, dentistry, everything. No, now we have a firm that comes in, takes care of the people, and there's many more services added than before. As far as the personnel, it was Governor Cuomo who came out with an education law. I thought it was 6301, but I'm not sure, where if you didn't have your COVID shot, you're removed. You know how many nurses had to leave their job because they didn't want to go for the COVID shot, and that eliminated a lot of jobs. Now, as far as the rating goes, we now have a 5-star short-term facility where before we had nothing. We didn't even have a short-term facility. That's it?
Well, and I do have a follow-up question. I'll stay on the subject for you since you're talking about the Infinite Care service right now. Would you consider at least another search to find a different contractor to manage the care center?
Possibly, but I didn't give it much thought, to be honest with you. I know the nurses union, when we went around looking for different companies to take over, 2 of them were bad, and they gave a good presentation. Again, like CEO, great presentation. But we listened to the nurses union, and we went to Infinite Care. And I think Infinite Care is doing a fair job. I mean, it's a nursing home, unfortunately. You're going to have drawbacks, like the poor person who died in the nursing home, because is it possible the employee didn't do something right or not? You know, that's being investigated. So that brings your rating down or gives you like a red flag until they investigate. We also, we recently had like 100 applications for nurses, and we took advantage, 100 applications for training, and 25 took advantage of the program. Let's see what else. So basically, lack of training of nurses nationwide is what's killing us. Some nurses rather get in a car and drive to Westchester and make maybe $20,000 a year more. I don't know. To me, I'd be happy working up here. The heck with the 20. But everybody's different. Let's see what else. So the problem with the nursing home is it's costing us $1 million a month to maintain. Out of New York State, 64 counties, give or take. I know it used to be only 12 a county run. I believe now it's 6, but don't quote me on it. Only 6 counties in New York State are running nursing homes.
Well, and Maryallison, I know you already stated your position that you feel the county would take over the facility, but I guess the question is, if you were to become the legislator in November, would you at least consider revisiting the current contract and looking for an alternate as far as managing the care center?
I would consider that if that was the consensus of the group, but I want to mention a point that's related, and that is, I think Nick Salomone is a wonderful person, gets along with everybody. But we need to remember he's the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee, and of course has a major input into our services in healthcare in Sullivan County. So I think, Nick, you've gone along with this current chair instead of standing up for the citizens of Sullivan County and saying we need to address the quality of care at this care center here in Liberty. Thank you.
Very good. And as we head towards our final question here in this segment, Maryallison, a bit of a broader question. The new legislative maps will be official after this election cycle coming next year. So if you win in November and thinking about your district, which will be affected as shifting boundaries and such, what are some of your top priorities? And do you feel that there are some different priorities that you need to look at in the quote unquote new district?
The districts that went into place in December?
That would be going into place.
January.
The districts that were agreed to and will officially become the districts come the new legislature. In other words, in January, you'll be entering the legislature. You, Nick, whoever, whichever candidate is, of course, the winner would be entered into, a new a slightly different legislative district. Do you think that those boundary changes or anything will change any of your priorities?
I don't think so. I'm not aware of what those boundary changes will be, but I can certainly report on, and I know many citizens listening can talk about the difficulties that the new districts have created. People are very concerned. In Mamakating, we have a ward system. The wards have changed over time. Now you have the districts changing. But yeah, I think we work with those kinds of boundaries and do the best we can.
Right, very good. And Nick, in terms of District 4,
Right.
the legislative boundaries, it's something you worked on in the
Yes,
legislature. Do you think the priorities are changing any? Is there anything specific?
Not really. You're still representing the county. Does it change population-wise? Yes, a little bit. But the Village of Wurtsboro is basically a rural village. So as far as perception, there's really no change. The biggest problem I see is you're in one area and you're in one district, but it's no different than when they did the ward system. One side of the street could be in one area and another side.
Right.
You have to draw the line. You have to draw the line somewhere, and you can't be off by more than 5% between the top county and the bottom. I believe it's 8705. You can't be off by more than 5%. So it took a lot of doing. We came out with 3 individual maps. I understand 10 years ago, the legislature came out with one map. This is the way it is. We had public hearings on it, and I was happy with two of the maps. It didn't bother me. No, I don't think the priorities are changing. No.
Very good. Well, we're up to closing statements. And Nick, you have 2 minutes
Okay.
for your closing statement as part of this debate.
Well, I want to thank the moderators, Maryallison, for being very fair and very polite. And I want to brag about promises I made. I promised 4 years ago the visitor center would be gone. That would have cost us megabucks. They wanted to put it in Rock Hill. How dare they skip Mamakating? So I voted no on it, and it never became a reality. Had we bought it, think of it, we didn't know COVID was going to come into play, but that place would have been closed for 2 years. We would have to maintain the bathroom, the heat, the air condition, cut the grass. And my opponent back then wanted 3 visitor centers. She wanted one on 97, one Sullivan County up above, and one at the bottom. You just can't. Everybody uses the internet, the computer, and the library. Okay. Another thing I promised, I would not take medical insurance, and I'm saving the county between 20 and 30 grand a year. I have my medical from retirement, but I'm still entitled to take it, so I wouldn't have to pay co-pays, but no. I'm not going to want to take $600 or $700 extra in my pocket from the deductions and cost the county 20 to 30 grand. We stayed within the 2% cap. We are the only legislative body in New York State, to my knowledge, except for the mayor of the city of Albany, I believe, who voted for a 4% pay cut when we had the pandemic. After the pandemic, it was restored. It was symbolic, but we did it. We haven't had a raise in 4 years. More county roads are being done than ever before, and we paid the debt down. We pay-as-you-go road repair, and I want to thank everybody for the great job. Maryallison, Mike, thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you. Maryallison, your 2-minute closing statement.
Okay, thank you. And echoing Nick, I do want to thank everybody who's participated in sponsoring this, the moderators, the filmmaker, the folks controlling the action here. And of course, Nick for participating with me and for, look, we've been keeping it peaceful and civil. And that's part of where I go with my closing statement. I think that many of us in the county, certainly many of us in Mamakating, feel that it is time for a change at the Sullivan County Legislature. And I'd like to be part of that change, bringing back a focus on civility, simple civility. Also, focus on serving the needs of the people. Let's get away from party politics and bullying. And also, I'd like to see the Sullivan County Legislature focus on transparency with their operations. We've had a little bit too much of secretiveness, and transparency will help us to move forward in the county. So thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you to all the people who will be watching and listening.
Well, thank you. That's going to wrap up our District 4 Legislative Decision 2023 debate. Again, Maryallison Farley running on the Democratic and Mamakating First lines, and Nicholas Salomone running on the Republican and People's First lines. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being a part of these Decision 2023 debates for Sullivan County Legislature, coming to you from the Black Library in Monticello. I'm Mike Sickell, News Director for Catskills News. I'd also like to thank our news partner, Mid-Hudson News, and of course, our candidates. Laborers Local 17 is a proud sponsor of Decision 2023. Visit liuna17.com to start on your career path today. Find these Decision 2023 debates on a number of platforms, including Catskills News Talk 92.5 and 94.9, as well as MidHudsonNews.com, plus Mid-Hudson News YouTube channel and the Catskills News podcast. Thank you for being a part of Decision 2023.